Hey, hi guys, my name is Abigail Wells, and I'm representing the University of Central Arkansas. Go Bears! And I am more than ecstatic to give this presentation for y'all today. So the presentation is called Accessibility at the Polls, and being a ambassador who also has a physical disability, I've seen just things that we can do to enhance our polls and also improve our voting process overall. So the objective of this presentation is to introduce us to legal protections for voters with disabilities and also share some accessibility practices that support voters with disabilities. And at the end of this, we will be able to have a brainstorming session, and it'll be great. And since we have just a small little group, we can do it all together. So it'll be fun. So I wanted to start off with some facts. So this is from the 2022 November election, and it was a voting survey on how accessibility was for people with disabilities. And there was a 3.6 lower rate of people with disabilities who were like actually participating in the voting process. And although 3.6 is not like this very large and just robust number. It's also, it just is still a small percentage that we can will decrease over time. And hopefully we can have it to where it is truly equal, and also we ensure that it's equitable. And so 1 in 7 people who were voting who had difficulties if they had a disability. And so that is kind of interesting, because if you think of a voting line, think of just 1 in every 7 person. And if that's the 7th person who came in with a disability, they most likely had a difficulty when voting. And so that kind of brings things into perspective. It was more likely to happen in person. Whenever people were voting in person, they were 20% more likely compared to people without disabilities who only had 6% chances of in-person difficulties. And then for mail-in ballot, you were 6% more likely if you had a disability to have difficulties. And then for people who didn't, it was fewer than 1%. And so these are like differences that we need to ensure we can minimize over time. And then also, 1 in 5 people needed assistance, which is 3 times the rate of people who do not have disabilities who need assistance. So it's something that we need to keep in the back of our heads and minds, that we need to be very open when we're at the polls, registering to be offering assistance, no matter like who they are, because invisible disabilities also exist. So the two most likely to have disabilities, to have a hard time or difficulties whenever they're voting, is vision and cognitive disabilities. And so that is just something to keep in the back of our mind also, whenever someone does come in with a vision disability, or someone who identifies and tells us that they have a vision or cognitive disability, you may be more inclined to offer help or aid. I I hopped on the Awala, hopefully I said that right, train, and it does go with the background too. And then also there was 3/5 compared to 1/2 people who voted in mail compared to people without disabilities. So whenever we're registering people to vote, we should be more inclined to just engage them in the mail-in vote opportunities, and what are the deadlines, how can you prepare to make sure that they have access to it, since we know that you're more likely to vote in mail-in ballot. So how does this go with the mission? So we are ensuring equality for people with disabilities whenever we're enacting these protocols and enacting these activities and providing them on our campuses. We are also providing justice for people with disabilities. And lastly, ensuring human dignity for people with disabilities, building a more inclusive and equitable society. Personally, I enjoy saying that how it's people with disabilities are human, and that's why we like to say people before and acknowledge the person prior to their disability, because it's very important. And so the human dignity is something that really sticks with me, especially on this topic. So we do have laws protecting people with disabilities. And so there actually, oh, sorry, my dog. There actually is hope for people. And it's because America is making its way, but you can also see that all of these dates and timelines are actually fairly recent. The latest dating back to 1984. And so I'm going to do a just a quick walkthrough so we can understand the laws and protections that do exist. So the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which is the latest one, it allows voters who are blind or have another disability to receive assistance for people other than their employer of office and agent of voters union. And so that also means that people, us as like polling workers and people in the community are able to offer assistance if they're properly asked and go through and fit the criteria. And then it also prohibits conditions to vote based off of reading, writing, and attaining level of education. And this is very important for the racial barriers that have existed in the past and the discrimination that. So it's like we have these laws and provisions that also help people who may be people of color, like, but also people who have disabilities. So the next one is the Voting Accessibility for Elderly and Handicap Act, which requires accessible voting places for elderly, and if there is not one. And this was the one that took me by surprise whenever I was doing research because I was not aware that we had provisions for people who are elderly and handicapped, and it opened my eyes to consider that population more. Close to our campus, there is a home for elderly people. And so it's something that personally I'm going to take into consideration. And hopefully UCA will be a campus and polling site where the elderly can come and vote. Well, we are one, period. Yeah. But Americans with Disabilities Act does an ADA, which most of us all know about. It's very famous and ensures people with disabilities to have full and equal opportunity to vote, including registration, polling sites, election websites, and casting of ballots. Later in this presentation, I'm going to show y'all California's website. It's so like inclusive, and I wanted to show it as an example of a state that kind of goes beyond what my state goes, and hopefully I can help push and drive, and we all as students and university students and helpers and everything like that, we can encourage that for our own states. And then lastly, the National Voter Registration Act of 1993. Well, actually, this is not the last one. It requires offices for provided public assistance or state-funded programs that serve people with disabilities to provide opportunities to vote. So that's making sure that there's a opportunity allowed to go and vote. And then one that I was also unaware of that I actually digged into all in this research was the Help American Vote Act of 2002, which is the most recent. And it just requires at least one accessible voting system for voters. But just like having this insurance and this policy goes beyond just having one. That means that there is an opportunity, and opportunity means that more voices can be heard. And so this is actually a very powerful act. So now I want to talk about the different impairments. And so vision disability, I just went over some of the ones that were highlighted in the study, and I researched some of the things that we can do at our polling sites and registration sites to help and improve accessibility and inclusivity. So for instance, if someone has a vision disability, we would need to provide more aid by having guides when tabling or registering, such as enlarged text and audio resources. So whenever you're printing out your things, maybe have just one or two or three resources that have enlarged text, and that goes a long way because you never know who walks up, and most people do not have a sign on them saying, hey, this is my disability and this is what I require and this is what I need. And so whenever we do have papers and resources available, then people can just automatically feel included. And honestly, you'll be more inclined to vote if they are registering because they know that this is an equitable process. And then for cognitive impairments, we can ask like if they want to vote and walk them through the steps and ask if they have plans to do mail-in or in person. Most likely, there's a lot of research that was saying that mail-in ballots was more popular. And so you can encourage that more because it kind of simplifies the process. But whenever it does come to cognitive impairments as well, the need for assistance for ADL, which is activities of daily living, you can suggest a voting buddy. So this voting buddy applies to both instances. And then a hearing impairment, you can provide a screen reader, which you can do this also through having an iPad or a tablet at your site and providing that resources by just including that digital device. And for mobility impairments, wheelchair access, maneuvering space, even considering someone who's on crutches. So in your registration area or on your polling site, you could even just do a little walkthrough and see like, okay, this is enough space, or maybe we should move this over here to ensure that. There's also online some measurements and stuff that are for polling places that that are out there as resources. So you can take the extra step by providing printouts and digital devices. So screen readers can be utilized. When hosting webinars, turn on your captioning resources, and then post to social media, use alt text features, and then providing sample ballots to provide comfort and time to prepare. So I was kind of rushing through this presentation so to make sure that we have enough time for the activity. So when registering as well, we should consider how will the voter get to the polling places. So that can remind us of the elderly whenever we're making sure that they have access to their site. And then also will there be accessible parking and clear marked pathways to get to the entrance. So having just arrows will be greatly beneficial. And then how will the doorways open? Having automatic doors, should you hold it open or make sure that there's something that is just keeping it open for people to walk in without any issues. And then you should consider telling others to visit the site in advance. So it's time to begin our activity, but first, I wanted to show y'all California's resources. I don't know if it's going to share the screen, but they do sign language resources for people with disabilities, and it goes on their website. And so I just wanted to show y'all how, because it was so cool to me how they have online videos like on a reference guide for people who are wanting to vote. And I feel like that is greatly beneficial. So now it's time for the campus accessibility plan. I don't know, we have we have a few people. So I'm going to drop a document in the chat for everyone, and we're going to create a campus accessibility plan. How many people do we have? Would y'all like to participate in it? Just send a
Yes,
thumbs
Abigail.
up.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Drop it in the chat and we can all participate in it. And also we can share resources that we send out after the summit. So anyone watching the recording can do it.
Awesome. Let's go to trying to find this. Sorry, guys. Navigating it. And okay, just send it through and let me know if it gets to everyone.
Okay, I have it. And I'm in the doc.
Does it provide the edit access?
I'm gonna make a copy and I would actually
Okay.
recommend that everyone does that so the original stays intact.
Okay, perfect. So one question would be, would y'all like to do it for y'all's specific campuses and just do it separately and then come back together? Or would y'all like to do it on one campus or area and figure it out and go through the process together?
Abigail, I think it'd be cool if we all did one together.
Oh,
And you can
I
guide
love
us through the
that.
process. Does
Yes.
anybody here have a campus or state that they'd like to highlight? Hannah, I feel like you came off camera for a second. What campus are you from?
I'm from the University of Central Arkansas as well.
Okay. That's amazing. I'm so glad that you're here. Anybody else in the audience have a campus, or I'm gonna recommend one?
I'm from Tougaloo College. Well, hello everyone. My name is Nala. I attend Tougaloo College. It's in Mississippi.
All right, let's do that one.
Nice. Okay, perfect. So what do you think would be best to do it on the shared copy that I sent? Okay.
Yes. What if you make a copy of your original and then share the screen and show us your screen as we do it? Does that work?
Okay. Yes, that works perfect.
Thanks, Abigail.
I feel for like professors now during the Zoom time 2020. I'm like, wait, this actually is a lot to navigate.
You're doing great though.
Oh, thanks. um, I'm trying to see how I can get this. Okay, I think it's showing my whole computer, but that's fine. I was trying to find out how to do the individual tab, but this will work. So first, okay, what was the name of your college again?
It's Tougaloo College. So Tougalloo.
Hello. Okay, is that right?
Oh, two O's, two O's.
Oh, perfect.
And take the U. Yeah, take the U out.
Okay.
No, so it's Toug, but the
Okay.
U. I'm sorry, the second U. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so do y'all want to like pick out a number and then just do it in the chat, or what would be the best way, Kaylee?
Yeah, we can. So I'll look up the Secretary of State for Mississippi, unless somebody already knows it.
It's Michael Watson, I believe. I'm pretty sure Michael Watson.
It is Michael Watson. Okay, so we have Michael Watson as the Secretary of State for Mississippi. If you want
Oh
to put
my
that in for
God.
us, Abigail,
Okay.
I can copy it in the chat and paste. I know
Oh,
spelling.
that's perfect because now y'all are catching me on not knowing how to spell stuff using
That's
autocorrect.
okay. That's okay. No one expects you to know how to spell everything.
Okay, perfect. So now we have our Secretary of State.
Okay.
So then it says look up the disability rights group. So
I
oh,
just looked up
someone
the
else.
disability rights group and I
Um,
found Disability Rights Mississippi.
Oh, perfect. You want to send a link in the chat?
Yes,
Perfect. Thank you.
no problem.
Oh, so far as the disability rights group, they're so like they are very good for providing resources. They've already actually done most of the research and have done the groundwork. It's mainly like getting out their information to the campus or to people in the community. So, but, yeah. They last semester, they came and they brought a whole bunch of pamphlets and we were able to use them and distribute it. And it was really great information.
That's great.
So there's a polling accessibility checklist for the state. Does anyone want to look that one up?
I just looked one up and I put it in the chat. I think it's the
Uh-huh.
right one.
Okay.
Because it talked about like the accessibility, checking the accessibility
Uh-huh.
of the polling places and things like that. So you can let me know if it's the right one. I think it is though.
It is, because I think I used it before. Yeah. Oh gosh, now y'all I have all my tabs.
It's okay.
There it is. Yeah. So the accessibility checklist really opened up my eyes. I strongly suggest looking at it. And if y'all do have like a polling site on your own campus, consider using it for your own.
Yeah.
So do y'all know the population?
County has the highest
Oh, I'm
percent.
sorry. Like with, I don't think I specifically put, but it's population of people with disabilities in the state.
Okay, let me look that up real quick, Abigail, and then I'll put it in the chat.
And then also the county for which the Tougaloo, did I pronounce it right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yay.
It says 816,000 adults,
Oh,
which is
wow.
35% of the state's adult population.
So 35%. So the reason why I included county resources is because some usually the sites will provide how many people with disabilities are in specific counties, and so then you can see that if you have a higher populated area, and then those resources I talked about in the presentation would be like really great and useful to consider when doing your polling sites. So I if you have disability services, how much of your population has a disability, which sometimes it's not actually defined, but hopefully y'all school does define it.
Oh, so you want specifically for Tulu, the
Oh,
disability population?
yeah, if they have it.
So they
Sometimes
actually don't.
oh, okay.
I don't think they
Yes,
do.
sometimes they don't. And I know for UCA, sometimes it's hard for them to give out information without violating some protections. So we'll just leave a little star by that one. And Stan, do you are y'all's disability resource services good on y'all's campus? I feel like that's a good question instead to ask.
I'm
If you
sorry, can you repeat it one more time? I think it went
um
out.
how are y'all's disability resources on your campus? Are they really involved? Or it's okay if you don't know as well.
I'm gonna say I don't know. I do know a couple of students who have disabilities, and I usually see them with different people on campus who help them out, but I don't know like any specifics.
Okay. I feel like it's really great to get in contact with people on your campus and talk with whoever the department is and then let them know, and then they can help send out resources that we find to their students who have disabilities on voting, and that can help spread the message. So that was a big reason why I included that. Okay, so now we're on part two, or oh yeah, there's a wrong one. Sorry, guys. So now that you know the resources offered and the demographic, we're going to design a accessibility plan for the upcoming fall semester. So since we're in a smaller group, how many minutes do we have left? Oh, we still have a few. Okay. So what resources can you refer students in the community to? So far as with the ADA polling checklist and the disability rights group. So far as we do know that the disabilities right group is a resources that this campus can provide to people with disabilities on campus. So that's something that we can write down for that. But if anyone wants to, y'all can like just quickly research or look up like this resources for people with disabilities in Mississippi. And that's something also because there may be other resources beyond disabilities rights group. And then hopefully, like when this is all done, now you'll have something to just provide people with disabilities if they come up and having questions. So it's a fun little activity.
Okay, from a quick Google search, I found this link that I'll paste in the chat. I'm not sure if that's what we're looking for, but I'll keep searching as well. Hi, David. We are doing an activity on building an accessible plan for our campus to include people with disabilities.
Since we're like kind of in the middle of this, I do want to do like a quick little poll of like everybody who's here. So I was wondering how many of y'all have actually like whenever you were starting your polling process considered, oh, how does this impact someone with a disability? And like just honest truth, because I know whenever I was starting it off, because I was not born with a disability, actually like gained one over my lifetime. I didn't really consider anything like outside of my little bubble. And so I was like interested in like how many times have you considered, oh, how does this impact someone with a disability? Because sometimes I feel like it's just cool to understand and because that's a lot of minds just changed over time. Yay.
Yeah, that's a great
Um,
question, Abigail. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, you go. You can go.
I was just gonna say, I think that sometimes it's easier to think about like disabilities that maybe we encounter every day, like
Mhm.
people with visual impairments or people that use mobility devices. So sometimes it's easier to think about those, but you've made a lot of great points here today about things that we aren't considering that often, and even how people that are elderly may need more assistance. So yeah, I'm glad that you've shared a lot with us because it's broadened my perspective so that I can start thinking about other folks to include as well.
I just kind of wanted to echo everything you said. I never really thought about it, but since participating, it has made me think a lot about like even the polling place in my hometown. I don't really think it is accessible, and so we tell everyone to go vote and go vote, but you never really think about the barriers that people have in actually going to vote.
Mhm. You're so right about that because like whenever it my eyes were personally open whenever I was just doing this research. Like I said, I wasn't even thinking about how we have an elderly community in our campus area who comes out to vote and or vision impairments because I'm a below the knee amputee. So the main thing that I think about is can I get through here with crutches or a wheelchair? And that's it. And I never really considered oh, is this actually like, should we enhance the size of this or should add alt text to our like post and make sure other people can like read it? And so it's like really opened my eyes as well. I'm like in the same boat as y'all. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's like one thing I have noticed is like whenever you're exposed to people with a disability in your lifetime, it's easier to have like more broader understanding of like, okay, how can we ensure that this is equitable and people like have an easy experience or just as everyone else is having. So on here, the next thing is how can we make each sector to be listed more accessible for the highlighted population. So for instance, we are talking about vision disability, if someone has a vision impairment, or if someone has a cognitive impairment, all of those things. Do y'all have any ideas from the presentation, or even just like cool ideas that you were thinking about? Oh, this would also help out too. I'm interested. It's a cool brainstorming session.
Yeah, Abigail, I love that you mentioned providing resources like at tables and things that have a text size that's bigger. I think sometimes we're really caught up in making stuff to where it can all fit on one page, but not
Yeah.
thinking about how somebody that needs larger text may not be able to be included. And also, I was thinking when you mentioned doing alternative captions, like for your social media posts, that's really fantastic. And I learned about that just a few years ago when I was working in a comms role, and that was part of my job. But it's really cool to provide alternative captions and describe the image for people with screen readers and people that can't maybe see exactly what's happening on the post, especially when you're doing text heavy posts with lots of information that people need to know. So that's two things I've learned today, Abigail.
Cool. I'm happy. Any other ideas?
I'm not exactly sure like how it would work, but I was thinking about like people with hearing impairment and how when we're tabling, like it can be kind of difficult for us to communicate, especially if we don't have anyone that speaks sign language or anything like that. So maybe having some sort of resources where we can communicate comfortably with people who have hearing impairment as well.
That's a really great idea. Like whenever I saw the California state, like the state of California sign language like explanation thing, I was just like, I didn't even think about that either. I was just having a blast doing the like research on this. There's so many cool ideas that we can do.
Also, I was reminded of putting captions on anything that you can, like videos that you send out, or your like if you're posting TikToks or Instagram reels, if you can caption those, or even your Instagram stories, that's really cool. I benefit from captions all the time because sometimes I just don't even want to have my audio up, but I still want to be able to understand what's happening in a video. So it helps everyone.
Oh, I didn't even think about people needing glasses who can't afford them. That that's really I didn't even think about that perspective.
Yeah, I was a co-worker and there's so many people, like elderly people, um, and then like of the Spanish like, speaker community, they'd be like, oh, like you speak Spanish, can you help me? And then I'd be like, there's certain rules where I'm still because didn't really help them, but I was it was just like very hard to see like these people that want to vote, but they're like, I don't know what it says when it's telling me.
Mhm. That thank you for sharing that experience. Like, does anyone else have experience? I would love to hear of like maybe an inequitable time or something, sometime that you saw noticed something that was like, oh, maybe we should consider this. Also, is your full name Abigail, or is your nickname Abby? Or is your
My nickname's Abby. And then I know there's other
really?
Abigail in here too, right?
Yeah. My nickname's Abby too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
I love that.
When I was a coworker, my county actually has like disability voting. They have like a pad for like people that are blind and then like a hearing one too. Um, but I did find that a lot of can you guys hear me good?
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, good. There was a lot of like elderly people because like all the early elderly people that come in like at 6 a.m. once schools are open. And so I did find that a lot of them had like bad knees or they had like I don't know, just like some type of like where they can't stand for so long. And so these lines are so long, huge, and like they're kind of like, I want to vote, like I'm standing here waiting for them to talk on it. And so I did see the struggle of like the lines where people might not be able to stand for that long.
And when I finished my co-working and then they asked like a survey or feedback, I was like, I definitely feel like we should have some chairs. I get like it might look wrong, but there's some people that really can't stand for that long. Either they're overweight or they're elderly people or they have like knee damage or surgeries, and you just never know. And that's something that I feel like I kind of forgot. And so in this workshop, I kind of remembered all the things that I saw of people with disabilities showing up to the polls in that regard. And I definitely feel like we should acknowledge more of that and speak and see like people might not be able to stand in that long. Even if it's like very short or like they're there early morning, it's still a lot.
You're so right about that. I never like ensuring because I think at our polling site we automatically had seating, but I've never thought about like other polling sites that they didn't have seating and stuff. So maybe like whenever we go back to our hometowns and go back to our polling sites and locations, maybe we can start advocating for chairs and seating. Did you also say that there was a pad for people uh who had vision impairment?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was a very expensive equipment, but they had like
Cool.
a specific thing for them, and it was really cool to see that they had that. And then in my county, which I live in Arizona, I'm in the Maricopa County, but they have like this also this like phone line, I guess, where like let's say you can't really move or get out of your house, and there's a lot of people that don't want to do mail-in ballots because they're not that comfortable with that, and so you have someone like come to your house and like give you the ballot, and then there's also a drive-through option. So let's say you can only be in your car and you can't wait in line, like you can call the polling location, say, hey, I'm outside, I'm in the parking spot that's specific for that. And then someone comes out and they you vote, and then they get your ballot, and then they confirm that it is read or whatever, and then you're on your way. So I think definitely there's been some good things that have come with it when it comes to voting, but I think there should be more opportunity for big print, for Spanish speakers, and all those things. It's intense.
You're so right. Even like thinking about different languages and decreasing those barriers are really important too. So like I think like this it's still a barrier because I was like I wouldn't say like having a language barrier is a disability, but it places you at a disadvantage if it's not properly like accessible and inclusive. And so like that's why I'm gonna go ahead and add it to here and like just having different language options for information. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Ab.
I mean, there's more people, especially like with a lot of like people that are coming from different countries and things like that, and we really do need to have more expansion with people in the language, because it is hard, and so it's definitely something that we should get.
We need to I feel like it's something is that is so weird is that a lot of us are like it's just I don't know if it's just human nature. We just judge by the outside of like what we perceive and we don't think about what's going on inside. So we don't understand like what the other parts of that person's identity is. And so it's like I identify as someone who's like speaks Spanish, or I'm identified as someone who has a disability, or I'm identified as someone who needs to like has a hearing impairment and stuff. And so it's like we can't make assumptions on what someone needs just by looking at the outside of them. And so I feel like we can I feel like we're learning about a lot more than just disabilities here, and I'm excited and happy about that.
Yeah, Abigail, you've done a great job showing us more insight onto what it's like to have an accessible voting plan and have good practices for your campus outreach. It also reminded me the things you shared about like making sure people know what their options are when it comes to voting, that they can use a mail-in ballot, or they can have curbside or drive-through voting, or have someone help them, because for some people, maybe it might be discouraging or they might be nervous. So yeah, I think that'd be a great option, is to include what kind of services there are for people that might be disabled. And this presentation has certainly highlighted that.
So happy. I just saw is it, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Is it chlorane? Baby?
Yeah, that's fine. You can call
Oh,
me
no,
Corinne.
no. I want to pronounce it right.
It's Clohan.
Chlorhan?
Clohan.
Clohan. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry if I still butchered it.
No, you're good.
Okay. But can you explain your comment? I would love to hear like about the bridge on what happened on the second floor.
So I go to University of Parkside here in Wisconsin, and we have a second floor where we usually have like our table set up. I've only gone to like one of the sit downs to like pass out information, so I'm literally brand new. I don't know much about anything. Um, I know that we're on the second floor, so not many people can come up there. We do have an elevator, but not many people know how to get to the elevator or um, know any other resources to get upstairs. So unless you can like find an elevator or go up the stairs on your own, that's the only way you can like reach any of like the tables we have or any information we have. And with the as a person that has a mom with a disability, I think I just like notice it a lot more. Like I've noticed stairs a lot more. I notice if there's anything that's elevator accessible a lot more. So um, it could be very challenging for anyone that's maybe with a disability or who is older or who is overweight and has a hard time going upstairs to come up and get any information because it would really, I feel like it would make a big difference in our community here at Wisconsin Parkside if we were able to move the events downstairs, because then a lot of people just walking in would be able to interact with us.
That okay, moving event downstairs.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And so far as like even from your own eyes, not just the moving down to the first floor, what are other things that like you've noticed? Because I know that like uh whenever you do have like a parent or someone who's close to you who has a disability, sometimes you notice other small things. And so were there any other things that you noticed? It's okay if you did, but I was just wondering.
Yeah, like, so with my mom, her issue is her foot, so she does have a limping problem. So
Mhm.
long, walks are very hard for her, especially if it's like she has to wear closed-toed shoes. So, I was always thinking, I was gonna bring up to my group that we should, have our locations be towards the entrance, so something that's very easy and accessible for anyone to get to without it being like, maybe like even if it's like a minute walk, it'll be too long for somebody. Our campus is extremely big, so I feel like if we were to have it, like since it's summer, if we could have it more towards like an event where we're outside and anyone can see us and they can come over, or if we're like in the parking lot, it's a lot easier. Um, that's the main thing, is like distance that I've noticed. Um, I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head. But I know for sure like distance, long walks, stairs, those are all big like hoard like things that can stop anyone with a disability, no matter what it is, to come
Yeah.
see us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course.
So, does anyone else? I'm like loving this. The participation is off the charts. It's making me so happy. Y'all made my day. Does anyone else have like any other instances or things that y'all have noticed? I know this is like not specifically like pertaining to a specific campus and now it's more broader, but since we're doing it all as a group, hopefully this can just make us more aware. And honestly, I'm learning more just from listening to y'all.
Thank you so much, Abigail. You've done a great job. I was at a museum last weekend and the elevators were out of service. It was the Space Center Museum and here in Houston, and the elevators were out of service. So people that couldn't, and the stairs were huge. Like I was struggling getting up those stairs, but people who couldn't go upstairs just couldn't see what was on the second part of it, which was a cool rocket.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, it was really frustrating that the elevators were out of service and the only way to get up there was through the stairs.
Mhm.
So yeah, just thinking about that, if like I think somebody else said, like taking something away from the second floor, maybe putting it on the first, and you've certainly had my wheels turning thinking about that kind of thing.
Ensuring things are operable is like that is so important because I would have been so sad if I missed out on a space rocket. But hopefully this all helped every one of y'all to brainstorm and then y'all will go back to y'all's campus and implement these plans. This is so great. It was so nice to meet all of y'all. We can connect on social media or whatever. All right, have a great rest of the session. Thank you again.